All right, everyone, we're just going to give it about a minute just to let everyone log in and get settled, and then we'll get started. All right, so let's get started. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your evening to join us tonight. We are Aesthetic Pathway Institute, and tonight's webinar is shedding light on aesthetic lasers, to buy or not to buy that device. It's that time of year again, and I'm sure a lot of you may feel like you have every laser rep out there knocking on your door, trying to get you to buy their device before the end of the year. Well, and there's always that running joke of what's the fastest way to get rid of a laser rep, and it's to buy the device. Well, we're here tonight to tell you that's only a piece of the puzzle. Devices absolutely have their place, and they can be a really great asset to your business. But there are other pieces of the puzzle that fall into place to help you build your aesthetic business successfully, and that's what we're going to dive into tonight. So first and foremost, I want to introduce myself and my co-host. I'm Heather Nace. I'm the Director of Education and Research and Principal Consultant here at API. And my co-host tonight is our founder and CEO, as well as Principal Consultant, Kathy Walton. Kathy, do you want to give kind of just a brief rundown of our experience?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here. Heather and I have been in the aesthetic space for 15 and 20 years, so we have a ton of experience when it comes to just aesthetics in general. So we both worked at Galderma, so we have a lot of experience in neurotoxin and fillers. And then we also launched microneedling and platelet-rich plasma in the aesthetic space. From there, I was a vice president of sales at a major laser company. Heather worked there as well. And then we decided to help doctors by branding their own private label skincare. And we do that with a company called Inspira Skin. So we definitely have a lot of experience in the aesthetic space, and we want to share our experience with you.
All right, so let's kind of touch on our agenda for the evening. First up, we're just going to give a very brief introduction as to who API is and what we have to offer, and then we're going to dive right in. So we're going to talk about those factors that influence buying decisions. We're going to go over the importance of having a comprehensive business plan to really set you up for success and how to take advantage of those Section 179 tax deductions as well. We're going to kind of give you some pointers and guidance on how to choose the right device for your aesthetic practice, the types of lasers and devices that are out on the market today, and how the basic laser principles as well as the Fitzpatrick scale play a role into choosing the best device for your business. And we're going to also touch on foundation therapy and how that can be utilized to really help take back control of your patient outcomes, as well as enhance the results that you're already achieving with your services. And before we let you go, we will go over some solutions that we have for you to help provide that guidance and do some Q&A at the end. So feel free, if you have any questions throughout this, to enter your questions into the chat, and we'll go over them at the end.
So who is Aesthetic Pathway Institute? So Heather and I started Aesthetic Pathway Institute with the goal in mind to create a community amongst the aesthetic practitioners. What we noticed was there was not one single platform where aesthetic practitioners have access to clinical studies, protocols, legal advice. We wanted a platform where it's a one-stop shop, where you can go and you can access everything you need at your fingertips. So that's really our goal, is to help you have more success and drive profitability throughout your practice, but giving you the right tools in order to achieve that success. So how do we do that? So here's a little rundown of what the Aesthetic Pathway Institute offers you as an aesthetic practitioner. So we do have a membership program where you have access to educational videos, We have a resource library that offers clinical data, studies. You're going to be able to have forms. You're able to have access to information on products and devices. We do have blogs with just industry knowledge, what's going on in the industry from an aesthetic standpoint. We are going to be offering webinars once or twice a month, depending on what your needs are and some new information that's coming out in the aesthetic space. We will be launching a podcast in the near future. And in that podcast, we are going to have thought leaders, physicians in the aesthetic space who've had a lot of success that are going to share their clinical pearls and just some like tidbits of information to help you translate success in your practice. We do offer a free 20-minute legal consultation. We have partnered with a law firm where they specialize in medical spa. So they know all the rules and regulations. So if there's anything that comes up and you need some legal advice, we do offer that as well. And then we do have a panel of clinical and aesthetic business experts that can answer any questions you may have. We do offer services. So we offer some training, consulting. We do have website development and search engine optimization. We help you with your marketing. We can help brand your practice if you're a new practice or if you want to rebrand your existing practice. Once again, you've got that legal advice, the clinical advice. We also help with business plan development. And once again, we want to create a community. So we want community feedback from the aesthetic practitioners. So what makes us a little different too is that we do offer hands-on one-on-one training. So we can either have you come to our training facilities or we can go out to you, the practitioner. We will help with training on products, on private label skincare. We do offer training with devices, aesthetic procedures, but also the whole office approach. And that means like a sales approach. So if you're basically bringing on a new device or you're bringing on skincare, we want to educate the staff so that everybody is upselling the services in the practice. We also offer standard operating procedures if you don't currently have one, as well as an employee handbook.
All right, so let's talk about some of those factors to consider when purchasing an aesthetic laser or device. So this is a flow chart that we created to help guide you through some of the decisions and things that you want to think about when deciding if or not you should purchase that device. So before we dive into this, Kathy, you had a really great conversation the other day with one of our clients. Why don't you share that before we dive in?
Yeah, so I was out visiting a client a few weeks ago, and she shared with me she was having so much success in the medical spa space. So I was kind of shocked when she shared with me that she made some bad purchasing decisions. So she did a lot of body contouring devices, is what she purchased over the years. And while it was a great investment like 2, 3 years ago, what she's noticed is she still has a very large monthly payment for all these devices. And she noticed, like in the beginning of this year, that people weren't coming in for body contouring, and she didn't understand why. So when she polled her customers, what she found was a number of them started doing semaglutide or like Ozempic and weren't looking for body contouring. So while it's great that the patients have somewhere to turn to and they're getting, the results they're looking for, what's bad for her is she's still stuck with those monthly payments and it's overwhelming. She is literally crippled by these monthly payments. And that's really where Heather and I were talking. And this flow chart is incredible. Heather created this and she's going to share with you, how does this translate into your practice when you're looking to purchase a device? So Heather, do you want to walk us through this?
Yeah, so there's two ways that you can start, right? You have, maybe you're a practitioner who's just starting out. Maybe you're to open your doors, you don't currently have a client base, and you're trying to decide where to begin. Or maybe you already have a thriving practice with a very large patient base. It all depends on your specific scenario. But let's say, for argument's sake, you're brand new, that you are just opening your doors, you do not have a client base yet. You want to do something that's going to make financial sense for you. Right now, probably the first thing you shouldn't do is buy that device. What you want to do is start with some smaller things that aren't going to have you drowning in overhead just to get a few people into the door, right? So you can start with things like injectables, microneedling. There's other, facial contouring devices that you could do, like cool jet peel and hydrofacial and other things like that are a little bit more affordable than the larger big ticket lasers. Um, Now, if you do have the client base and that's not an issue at all, then perhaps, yeah, you should buy that laser. But the next question you should ask yourself is, do I have the demand? And do I have the demographic? As you know, laser treatments can range from a couple $100s to a couple $1,000s. So if you're in an area that maybe isn't as affluent and isn't going to be able to afford $3,000, $4,000 treatments or these massive packages that can cost thousands of dollars, it may not be the right device for you. You may be better suited with a different device. If you are in an area that doesn't typically put money out for these kinds of services, it may not be a good idea to purchase that larger big ticket laser. The other question you want to ask yourself is, run a cost benefit analysis. Does this make business sense for you? So I'm not talking about just, oh, it's going to take X amount of patients to make your monthly payments. You also need to think about, does this device have consumables? Does this device come with a warranty? What's that going to look like after the fact? You also want to think about staff commissions. Who's going to be operating this device? Those are things that are going to come into play. And if you can't afford to do all of those things right off the bat, then it's probably not a good idea and a good time to purchase that device. Now, if you said, yes, I have the patient demand, yes, I have the demographic, and yes, this makes business sense for me, then I would move forward with looking into some of the next questions you should ask yourself. Like, okay, well, now I know I'm sound to do this, but let's now take a step and look at the quality and the reputation of the device you're considering. Is that company going to offer you support and training, not just for you, but for your whole office to help set you up for success? What's your local competition doing? And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this and why that's important, but you do want to know what they're charging, and you do also want to know what they're offering, so that way you know how to properly compete and to have that edge ahead. Also want to consider your marketing strategy. Just because you have the device does not mean people are going to walk in the door. You do need to promote it. So you want to have a plan in place as to, what are you going to do to get this word out there that you now have this device? And then lastly, who's operating the device? Are you operating the device? Do you need to hire someone to operate the device? These are all things that you want to have ironed out. And if you said yes to all of these things, then buy that device. It's the time to do it. If you don't have these things all in place, then just take a step back and kind of reevaluate and see maybe if you should go with a different device, or maybe it's just not the right time for you. But at the end of the day, it's a very big business decision to make, and they can be extremely profitable and they can bring you in business. But like I said in the very beginning, buying the actual device is only a piece of the puzzle. And there's a lot of other pieces that go into building this. So I know this was a lot of information. We are simplifying it for you, I promise. We did create a document. We're going to have a PDF available, because if you're sitting here wondering like, okay, great, but how do I know if I have the demand? How do I know what my patients are willing to pay or not pay? Well, we created a very easy one-sheeter for you that you can easily pull through social media. You can send it out in an email blast or a text message. You can have it as part of consent forms when you have clients coming in, to really get a better gauge on what your client base is willing to pay and what services they're looking for, and help you make the best decision for your aesthetic practice. All right, so there's that famous saying out there of, don't set sail without a compass. You do want to set yourself up for success. And that's why it's so important to have a comprehensive business plan in place. So first up, we want to talk about your financial plan. Are you buying this device in cash? Are you financing it? Are you taking out a business loan? Do you know what the advantages are of the Section 179 tax deductions? That's extremely important to be aware of. And then always, always, always read the small print. It is something you really want to be aware of. There's a lot of attractive offers out there today that say like 0% for a year or a low interest rate right off the bat, which is great. But if you're not planning to pay off the device within that time period, you do want to just be financially prepared for what that increase in your monthly payment's going to look like. So just set yourself up for that and be prepared. Does your device have consumables? You need to have that cost factored in. What's your warranty going to cost after the initial warranty with the purchase expires? Also, what's your marketing cost? Again, what are you going to do to help get the word out there that you now have this device? And how are you going to commission your providers that are not only operating the device, but also to incentivizing the rest of your staff to promote it, to have that full total office approach? We do also want to talk about a strategic blueprint. So again, just touching on that local competition, being very well aware of your competitor analysis and what they're doing, what they're charging, so you can have that competitive edge over them. Your treatment pricing and packaging, and that's when knowing what your consumable, your warranty, your marketing costs, and your staff commissions come into play, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're factoring all of those costs into that treatment plan or package, so that way when those costs are subtracted, you're not taking a huge hit on profit. Again, touching on that patient demand, know who you're targeting. Are you targeting anti-aging? Are you targeting acne? That can help make you a decision on which device you should buy as well. And then, of course, if you have a marketing budget set aside, you do need a plan. How are you going to use that money? There's another famous saying that says, an idea without a plan is just that. It's just a dream. So you do need to have actionable goals set in place to really connect everything together and bring it to fruition. And then you also want to have a guiding framework. So you want to have complete standard operating procedures and an employee handbook to define those roles. Everyone needs to know their role. Everyone needs to know what steps to take and when. This also helps protect you from a safety standpoint as well. Training, not just hands-on, but also verbiage. Everybody in your office should know how to talk about this device, whether you're operating the device or you're answering the phones up front. And then,
And
of course, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're looking at this slide and you're like, wow, this is overwhelming, or I don't have a business plan, or I don't have a standard operating procedure, you're not alone. We're running into a lot of practices that don't have this, but that's where we're here to help you. We can set this up. We can meet with you. We can come up with not only a business plan, we can come up with employee handbooks. So if you're looking at this and you're like, oh no, I don't have any of these things, we can help you with that.
Exactly. I mean, that's the goal of it. So the goal is to essentially kind of give you a roadmap to success. So let's talk about that Section 179 tax deduction. So for the 2023 calendar year, the deduction limit is $1,160,000. This is great for both new and used equipment, as well as off-the-shelf software. The catch is that the equipment needs to be not only financed, but also needs to be put into service between January 1st and December 31st of the calendar year. So now let's take an example. So let's say that your cost of your device is $250,000, and assuming your tax bracket is 35%, your cash savings on that purchase is going to be $87,500, lowering your overall cost to $162,500. Now, which is substantial. So you absolutely want to take advantage of this. There's other things that you might be able to save money on too, and it's very important to speak to your accountant about. So this year, for 2023, the bonus depreciation deduction is 80%. And there's also some other deductions like the normal first year depreciation, as well as the total first year deduction that your accountant can help you with too. So there might even be a bigger chance for you to save even more than just with your typical Section 179. Okay, so now you have your business plan. You have your finances worked out. You have a strategic blueprint. You have your operating framework to set you up for success. But where do you begin? How do you know which laser to choose? So before you choose an aesthetic laser, it's important to have a basic understanding of how they operate. An aesthetic laser is a medical device that emits intense focused beams of light that interact with specific targets in the tissue for various cosmetic and dermatological treatments. And those specific targets are known as chromophores, and they are water, hemoglobin, and melanin. So let's start with absorption. So absorption is how light is absorbed into the chromophore being targeted. So for example, take melanin in a hair follicle. So the melanin is being targeted in that hair follicle during laser hair removal. Scattering is going to determine two things. It's going to determine the size of the area being treated as well as the depth of the light penetration into the tissue. Wavelength, each laser device is going to emit its own specific wavelength. So for example, longer wavelengths are going to penetrate deeper, which are good for more things like vascular lesions, and shorter wavelengths are going to be more targeting superficial pigments for things of like tattoos. Then you have your pulse duration, and pulse duration is how long the energy is being delivered to the targeted tissue. So longer pulses are for things like skin rejuvenation, and short pulses are again for things like tattoo removal. Lastly, we have our energy levels, and energy levels can be adjusted based on what you're looking to treat. So higher energy levels are going to be used for things like coagulation for like telangiectasias, those spider veins, or some ablation when you're doing some skin resurfacing. Lower energy levels are going to be used for those less invasive treatments, like we were talking about, so for like skin rejuvenation. So platforms, there's two main platforms out there, right? You have your single treatment platform and your multi-treatment platform. Now, if you're brand new, you're just opening up, you don't have you're just building up your client base, and you are looking to purchase your first device, we would recommend that you go with a multi-treatment platform. Choosing something that gives you more options is going to do a couple of different things for you. So it's going to help you build your patient base because one, you can offer more services, but two, you're able to reach a wider range of people versus a single treatment that maybe only a smaller pocket of that base can benefit from. Now, not to say that you shouldn't purchase a single treatment device, but I would say if you're just buying your first device, go with that multi-treatment platform and then use the profits down the road to invest in things like the single treatment platforms that maybe your patients are asking for. Would you add anything to that, Kathy?
No, I think that's 100% spot on. I kind of like the fact that with the multi-treatment platform, you can buy one handpiece. And then as you start pulling your patients or your patients start asking for certain services, you can always add handpieces to that platform. When you start buying multiple devices that are single treatments, it gets really expensive. So I do think it's, especially if you're starting out, that multi-treatment platform is the key.
All right, so let's just do a quick rundown of the lasers and the devices out there. So lasers can be broken into two categories, right? We have ablative and non-ablative. So your ablative is like your erbium YAG, your fractionated erbium, which is going to leave some of the tissue intact to decrease that healing time. And then your CO2 is going to be reserved for your more aggressive skin resurfacing treatments. Your non-ablative is like your KTP, your pulse dye, your alexandrite, your diode, your Nd:YAG, and the Nd:YAG can come in long or short pulse, Q-switch, or pico. So whether you're looking to do hair removal, whether you're looking to do skin rejuvenation, acne, pigmentation, vascular, skin tightening, you name it, there's a device out there for you. Other non-laser devices, we have these are just a few of the most popular ones out there, but there are many. So we have the radio frequency microneedling, body contouring, so you can do like the fat freezing, like cool sculpting, or you can do the radio frequency and high intensity focused electromagnetic, which is like your M-Sculpt. You have IPL, you have ultrasound, like your Althera, your standard microneedling, LED therapy, hydrofacial. There's a ton of options out there. So now that you have some knowledge on how lasers work and the lasers that are on the market, the next thing you need to determine is your target audience. What are you looking to treat? Are you looking to treat anti-aging? Are you looking to treat pigmentation, acne, vascular, body contouring? What type of patients are you seeing? What are they asking for? So these are things that you want to consider when looking into different devices. Now, once you determine what you're looking to treat, you also want to consider the type of clientele that you have and what skin tones you're treating. Not all lasers are safe for all skin types. And this brings us back to those basic laser principles. And it's important to understand how light is being absorbed and interacting with the tissue. So the Fitzpatrick scale, if you're not familiar with it, was created to help determine safe laser practices for different skin types. So we know that the darker the skin tone, the higher concentration of melanin, so more energy is going to be absorbed into the skin. And because of that, we would then do a lower energy setting. Now, using the wrong energy setting on a darker skin tone leads to a skew of increased risks and complications like burns, hyper and hypopigmentation, skin texture changes, like roughness, scarring, texture irregularities. So you do truly want to make sure that you're following the company settings that they suggest and knowing your Fitzpatrick skin types. So let's just very briefly take a dive into this. So it breaks down between type 1 through type 6. Type 1 is your light, it's a pale white. You always burn, never tan, light hair and eyes. Type 2 is your white to fair skin, usually burns, tans with difficult hair and eyes. Your type 3 is your white to olive skin tone. Sometimes mildly burns, gradually tans to olive, often will have hazel or brown eyes and has light to medium brown hair or dark blonde. Skin type 4 is your olive to moderate brown, rarely burns, tans easily to moderate brown, and has dark eyes and hair. And type 5 is going to be your brown to dark brown, very rarely burns, tans very easily, has dark eyes and hair. And your skin type 6 is very dark brown to black, never burns, tans very easily, and has dark eyes and hair. Now, this seems super straightforward, but there are scenarios where it's not so crystal clear. And a perfect example of that is I like to call the Oklahoma blonde. So let's say a patient comes in, has light hair, light eyes, for all intents and purposes, appears to be a skin type 6. During your consult and taking a very detailed medical history, you uncover that one of her parents is actually Native American. This now classifies her as a skin type 4, not a skin type 2. And if you had treated her on skin type 2 settings, you may have caused some adverse events with that that could have caused some issues. So it's always crucial to really take a complete comprehensive medical history during your consultation prior to treatment.
And I would say too, this scale is so important, but there's some devices out there that'll say it's safe for all skin types. I would, if you have a lot of patients that are type 4 to 6, please do your research and make sure that it is safe for skin types 4 to 6, because the last thing you want is hyperpigmentation. That is very hard to correct, but I always say that. And I always advise my clients too, who have a lot of 4 to 6 patient types, because that energy really absorbs into that melanin. And it's so important that we double check and triple check that this device is safe in those skin types. Would you agree, Heather?
Absolutely. It's not something you want to mess with.
And that leads into, I mean, there's so many lasers out on the market. The one thing that I notice in the aesthetic space, many people seem to forget skincare. And this was actually results from the Journal of Drugs and Dermatology. What they found was 60% of all your aesthetic outcome are a result of your home skincare regimen. So why is that important? You definitely want to make sure if you have a patient coming in and investing thousands of dollars into their skin, I want you to think of that patient as almost like, all right, they're coming to you, they want a prescription, right? So they're getting a service done in their office. They want a prescription of skincare. They want to know, okay, I've invested in my skin. How do I get the most optimal results? The way you do that is you're going to give them medical grade skincare, because if they leave your office, I'm going to tell you right now, they're either going to CVS and putting like CeraVe or Cetaphil on their skin, or they're going to Sephora and they're spending hundreds of dollars on skincare that is not going to yield the results that medical grade skincare will yield. So it's so important that you get them on a regimen of medical grade skincare so that they're going to see the most optimal results.
Not to mention that if they're spending all this time and money and investing that with you, and then they go home and put St. Ives on their face, They're reversing all of that hard work that you've done, and they're asking you. They trust you, so they're coming to you saying, "Hey, what should I use?" And you want to be able to, like Kathy said, guide them into what's going to be best for their skin.
And to Heather's point, you're going to control their results, right? You got to control. You don't ever want them, like Heather said, to have adverse events. They're not going to blame the skincare. They're going to blame the device that they just had done on their skin. So that is an excellent point that a lot of practitioners seem to like overlook, and something we'd like to always talk about, especially as we're advising practitioners in the aesthetic space. One thing that we're seeing, and especially we have a webinar coming up in the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be talking about like trends in 2024. What we're seeing is medical grade skincare is definitely the way to go, especially leading into the new year. But a lot of practitioners are really starting to brand their own medical grade skincare out of their office. There's many different reasons. One of the biggest reasons is they are looking to retain their patients. What happens is they get them on the medical grade skincare. They may use a major brand. The patient goes online and they may find it on Amazon. They may find it on Dermstore. They're buying it cheaper than what they're getting in your office. So a lot of times these online stores will offer these same products for cheaper than the practitioners are selling it. So a lot of aesthetic practitioners are truly looking to brand their own skincare. And it's just a way to not only control the results of what they're doing in the practice, but also it's going to give them patient retention. It's going to give you a new revenue stream. You're going to be a lot more profitable with the private label than the big name brands. You're going to see growth. You're going to be able to not only retain those patients, you're going to receive referrals. You're going to give them the most optimal results. You're giving them medical grade products, but you're also branding your practice. Going into the aesthetic space, we know it's a competitive space. We want everything to be branded to you, the aesthetic practitioner. We don't want them going and saying, okay, well, I can get that skincare product at these 10 practices up the road. They can only find your skincare line at your office, which is great. So if they run out of skincare, they're coming to your office to purchase more skincare, which means your receptionist or your medical assistant or even the practitioner can talk about maybe some other procedures that they may need in the future. So it's a great way to get that patient in the office, upsell more services, but also drive a new revenue stream that you may have overlooked in the past. So do you need guidance on next step for your aesthetic business? So Aesthetic Pathway Institute, we offer a number of solutions, whether it be consulting, branding your office, like we just talked about. We do training, and we talked about that, the hands-on one-on-one training, where we can either come out to your office or you can come to our facilities. We have online training courses as well. Marketing, which is so important in the aesthetic space. I was actually listening to a podcast the other day, and they were saying the med spas that are the most successful not only have a business plan, but they have a marketing plan. So if you don't have a marketing plan and you're looking to invest in lasers or skincare, or you're just starting out in the aesthetic space, we can definitely help you with that. Website development and search engine optimization. So important that if they do a Google search for aesthetic practitioner, Botox fillers, lasers, skincare, that you pop up first. So you want to be on that first page of that Google search, if not at the very top. And we want to build aesthetic community. For a long time, what we've noticed, and Heather and I have been in this space for so many years, we noticed that the aesthetic businesses or these big aesthetic companies love the fact that there's so much competition amongst practitioners. They love to divide and conquer, right? We want to create a community where we can all talk together and really kind of give feedback to each other, whether it be clinical advice or are we making the right purchasing decisions? Okay, you purchased this laser. Is this a good fit for my practice? We really want to build a strong community so that you are all seeing success in this highly competitive space, but a space that we can all thrive together and provide just advice so that we all succeed. So with that, I know today we talked about, we want to provide you some insight when it comes to purchasing lasers and making sure that you're making the right decision going into 2024. We had talked about it, Heather talked about it on her slide, that we will have a form that you can fill out to your clients, that you can send out and really kind of poll your audience and make sure that if you are purchasing a laser, especially in this month or next month, that you're making the right decision. So if you are interested, we will be sending an email out at the end with a recap of what happened in this webinar, along with access to the form. So you can fill out, basically a form asking, okay, I would like that form, and we will send you a PDF copy of that. But our upcoming live webinars, we're super excited. We did a lot of research to look at what's going to happen in 2024. We know with the economic downturn, there's still the aesthetic space is thriving. So we had a lot of experts, and we kind of drilled down into a webinar predicting the future. What's going to happen? What are the trends going on in the aesthetic space leading into 2024? So that's going to be November 30th, and it's going to be 7:30 again. And then on December 13th, what is so interesting is I've had a lot of venture capitalists reach out to me starting back in like January. There is a lot of interest in the aesthetic space. We all know how lucrative it is. So I had venture capitalists reaching out saying, okay, are there any aesthetic practices that we should look to purchase? Anybody that's looking for an exit strategy? So that really led to Heather and I discussing, wow, especially leading into 2024, maybe you're not looking to sell your practice now, but maybe it's something you may want to do in the future, or maybe you are looking to sell now. What we wanted to do is we're going to break down navigating the economic waves. So we're going to talk about the economy, the aesthetic space, but then we're going to talk about what's going on with these venture capitalists. What are they looking to invest in? Why are they looking to invest in this aesthetic space? And we're going to talk about, okay, these are the companies that you may want to talk to, the advantages as well as the disadvantages of going down the path of venture capitalist, and really kind of aligning your practice with that. So it's very informative. We're super excited about that. But once again, we want to leave it up to you. Please feel free to leave us feedback. You can go on our website. You can reach out to us directly. But what we truly want to do is we want to be a resource for you, the aesthetic practitioner, so that you can lean on us and we can create a community amongst yourselves so that you guys can have success and we can give you the resources that you need to be successful in this space.
Perfect. Thank you for that summary, Kathy. Before we end, we do have some questions that were entered into the chat. So like I mentioned earlier, we are going to try to get to as many as possible, but we are running a little bit short on time. If we don't get to your question, or you think of a question after the fact, please feel free to respond to our follow-up email with your questions, and we're more than happy to answer them for you. So, okay, the first one I have here is, should I purchase RF or a multi-platform device?
So I think that is an excellent question. I think we covered that before. I definitely think if you're starting out, I think I might be biased, but correct me if I'm wrong. I do like the multi-platform device because you can add handpieces to it, especially right now with what's going on in the economy. Even if you're just looking to maybe purchase a radio frequency device or an IPL, what's nice is with the platform, you can purchase handpieces, and it's not going to be as expensive as buying a single device. So what's interesting is I'm giving you advice, and I came from a company where it was a single platform device. So having that experience and knowing what's out there, I'm a big fan of the multi-platform device. Heather, what's your take on that?
I couldn't agree more. I think you summed it up perfectly. At the end of the day, you need to do what makes business sense the most for you. And we hope that, some of those factors that we gave you tonight are going to be helpful tools to help you make that decision. So, okay, so the next question we have, this is a good one. Okay, so how do I find out who can operate specific devices in my state?
That is a great question. So on our website, there's two ways you can find that out. The first one being, we did a breakdown of state by state. So whether you're in New Jersey, which is highly regulated, or New York or Pennsylvania or even California, each state has its own rules and regulations. So we basically created Excel spreadsheets based on your state with the latest rules and regulations. If there is some gray area and you go to that and it's in our resource library, and there's also a page that says rules and regulations where you can pull up your state, where it will show you the Excel form, and you can kind of look at, okay, can I delegate this device? Who can do Botox? Who can do filler? Do I need a medical director? Breaks it all down. But if there's some gray area and you still need some advice, once again, we have partnered with Hamel and Little. It's a medical spa, aesthetic practice law firm that can answer any of those questions or any other questions you may have in the aesthetic space. We definitely want to make sure from a legal standpoint that you're covered, any questions, that there's no gray area, and that you're definitely delegating devices or any questions you may have, that we're here to help you and answer those questions.
Exactly. We can't stress enough how important it is to protect yourself. You don't want to have everything go belly up over a simple legal mistake. Okay, so the next question. Okay, so I recently bought a laser, but don't feel confident after the company training. Is that something we can help with?
Yes. So that is a great question. And that happens, right? You get this laser and you get that one-on-one training. Maybe you hire new staff, or maybe you're delegating the device, or you don't feel comfortable operating the device. We do offer training courses. So you have one-on-one, or we do Zoom training. So we do have that at our fingertips, and we can help you with that as well. We want you to be as confident, especially when it comes to lasers. And Heather and I have a lot of experience. So we know having that confidence and having that skill set is super important.
Exactly. So we do have a Section 179 question here too. Okay, so just looking for some clarification to confirm if the device does need to be installed, but do I need to be trained?
So are they talking about a rebate if
they qualify? So I believe that it's asking that as long as do you need to have the device installed and have to been trained, or do you just need it delivered?
So that is an excellent question, especially at the end of the year. I will emphasize, if you are looking to purchase a device, you want to make sure that device is delivered. The training can happen next year, but you definitely need that device delivered. So, when I was a vice president of sales at a laser company, there was nothing worse than December 31st. I can't tell you how many New Year's Eve people were purchasing devices. Just so it's so important, you have to have that device delivered. So if you're looking to purchase the device, make sure you're purchasing it now or the beginning of December. You do not want to be purchasing it on December 31st, because we want you to get this Section 179 tax deduction. We don't want it to go into 2024 unless you want it to go into 2024. But if you want to take advantage of the Section 179 tax deduction, you want to purchase it now, not later.
And that's something
Great
when
question.
you're looking into these devices, ask how fast it comes. I mean, some lasers can be delivered pretty quickly, some can take a couple weeks. So you just want to factor that in if you do plan to take advantage of this tax deduction for this calendar year. So, okay, that's actually leads really great into this next one. To piggyback off of that, is waiting till the end of the year really the best time to buy? Will I get a better deal?
So, what's so funny? I think that's an excellent question. I get this from a lot of my aesthetic practitioners currently. I will tell you, when I ran a laser company, we would raise the prices in January in the new year. So, if you are looking to buy a device, I would take advantage at the end of the year. But to that point, look to get the best price possible. I always say, because I used to be the person that they used to negotiate with, right? So they would come to me and they would negotiate heavy with the price. I would say at the end of the year, yeah, you probably have a lot of wiggle room for negotiation, but I would buy now and I wouldn't wait for next year, because they could raise the prices. But if you do need help with contract negotiation and you do want to purchase the device, we can help you with that as well. So you can reach out to us. We have a lot of experience in this space, and we can definitely help you with contract negotiation. Or if you're looking to maybe make a decision and there's multiple devices you're looking at, reach out. We can help you with that as well. We can help you determine if it's the right device or not.
Right. So we are running out of time. So we did hit some of those questions. There are a few more. So we'll follow up with you all individually for the people that we didn't get to. If, again, you think of anything else that you have some questions, please feel free to follow up as well when we send out that email with your questions, and we will be sure to get back to you and we can set up a call and discuss that too. But is there anything else you want to add, Kathy?
Yeah, I was going to say, if anybody missed part of this recording, I am going to be sending out a recorded version of this. So if you missed any part, we will have that recorded version. I will also send out that form if you want to basically poll your clients to see if what device makes sense for them. So there are things that we can offer you to be a resource coming out of this webinar. So look out for that email. Feel free to reach out to us. I'll put up on the screen our information once again. If you did miss anything or if you have any questions, that's our contact number, our website, our email address, and just feel free to reach out anytime. We're so excited just to offer a resource to the aesthetic community. And once again, we definitely want to build a community amongst the aesthetic practitioners. Anything you wanted to add, Heather?
No, you just summed it up perfectly. I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to help you. I'm being with our experience that we've had and in this industry, the one thing that Kathy had touched on earlier that is the driving home point and the main drive behind this is that the aesthetic industry can be very self-serving, but it can also be very lucrative. And having somebody that's on your side to help you navigate that can be game-changing for you and your aesthetic business. And that's what we're here to help you with, to be a guide for you and to help set you up to succeed.
And I also wanted to say we are non-biased. So we are here to give you the best advice. And we've done this with a lot of practitioners. So we're going to present you the facts, the benefits, the disadvantages to whatever you're looking for. So we're going to give you both sides of the argument, and then we're going to kind of drill it down to help you make the best decisions, especially when it comes to purchasing decisions. So once again, feel free to reach out. Super excited just to have you join our community and just to be a part of our webinar. But definitely look for the email that I'm going to send with the recording of this webinar. But look for the upcoming webinars because I'm super excited about the upcoming ones we have until the end of the year. It's filled with some great information as well. So once again, thank you. Great job, Heather. Great research once again. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everybody. We're here to help if you need us, and enjoy the holiday season. We hope to see you on the next few webinars.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.